going to take the North and never.
But another person that really did impress was, gosh, that's a difficult question. I would say Kyler Gordon. Yet again, I'm going for
Oh, wow.
lower expectations, but like impressed me more because I wasn't expecting much with Kyler Gordon. He had a handful of pass breakups. I'm just going to load him up on my phone real quick. Because some of the stuff that he did was a nice play in coverage. There was a deeply thrown ball, caught up with the guy. So he was like in zone coverage. And I think it was Fields threw it to this person who looks like he's going to make the catch. I think Terrell Smith was on him. And Gordon just came out of nowhere in 7-on-7s out of his zone and just saw it. Looks like he would have picked it off, but he like kind of collided with the teammate. Luckily, everyone seems good. But then he made a couple other pass breakups. Like it was a pass to Darius Fountain on the outside, your boy. And it was just Gordon was making plays. He was breaking things up, which was great to see. Now, I don't have all 22 for this, where you can kind of see how well did he track, because that's what we really want to see. But seeing Kyler Gordon make plays was something that I really liked seeing, because he was the person I was scared the most of.
Yeah, because he just never knew kind of what, if he was gonna kind of be how he was near the end of the season. Like, was he just gonna go back into that slump of just letting everyone could just catch the balls on him last year, and then he started getting better, and it sounded like he kind of started where he left off last year. So I guess you mentioned Aaron Cruikshank. I was kind of surprised that you just brought him out, because I did hear a lot about him, about even random kind of NFL like rookie highlight Twitter people were kind of talking about him and highlight him that Bears got a steal. And I'm kind of surprised you didn't bring up DJ Moore. I guess with this, like, we can just kind of go into the wide receivers and kind of overview them. DJ Moore, Chase Claypool, Darnell Mooney. How are those guys?
Yeah, I mean, see, this is the thing though, because you said like who's most surprising, and to me, like they were like my third most surprising thing, because they like DJ Moore and Justin Fields, they're the real deal, and it's amazing. Like, Bears fans, we have an amazing duo with Justin Fields and DJ Moore. Like, it was so much fun to watch and so much fun to see. And I was grinning ear to ear. And I think that the biggest thing to me was just seeing how well they played together, and seeing that Justin Fields has that number one receiver. You see the chemistry with them when he's throwing the football to him, where it's like, if time has run out, he throws it to DJ Moore. And the Bears have posted so much stuff, and they even said, like I mentioned, another DJ Moore highlight with Justin Fields. It's the daily thing. It reminds me of Jaquan Brisker always making plays in camp every day. Yeah. Now it's DJ Moore, Justin Fields, DJ Moore also. It kind of reminds me of like Khalil Mack when he came in as the edge rusher versus a Leonard Floyd, where we were always used to Darnell Mooney. Now, it's no offense to Darnell, but now you have DJ Moore, who's just a technician and was breaking people down. It's exciting, because what will he do with the number one? I got to see it, and I can't wait for everyone else to be able to see it, because, ladies and gentlemen, it was fun. He has a guy that he can just throw to and trust, and Moore will come down with it. I could just ramble on.
I was going to say, sounds like you just ramble on about him, and that's how it should be. Like, you should get so excited about our passing game, and I feel like that's probably the first time we've been able to, and I don't know how long, to get excited about these guys, the passing game.
Here's some specifics though that I'll give, is just how DJ Moore faked Jalen Johnson, like beat Jalen Johnson, and then had like 5+ yards of separation. Just did like a quick in route and was wide open. And this is against Jalen Johnson, and he's getting 5+ yards of separation. And then DJ Moore, great catch. It was basically like Walker. So Walker ends up going around Chase Allen, and it could have probably been a sack, but Fields stayed in the pocket, lobbed it over the middle of the field to DJ Moore. And now you can look online, DJ Moore cooking Tyreek Stevenson for a pretty
Yep.
big play, but he's just smooth. And Fields also just plays with a lot more confidence. My wife and I were talking about it, and I'm like, it just felt like the offense was confident. As weird as that sounds, that's what was going on. It was really fun to watch.
Yeah, I bet Justin Fields just so confident to, like, it sounds like he's going through his progressions, and then he's able to just be like DJ Moore. So, it sounded like DJ Moore was just, even if they double teamed him, he was going to get the ball no matter what, and he was going to get separation. So, we kind of knew DJ Moore was going to be good, and it's perfect that he's coming into this state of just sheer dominance. But I think the big question, Brad, is like a Chase Claypool. Did he actually look good out there? Was he kind of 100%? Did he look like he was practicing during this off season and not just going to Europe?
Good question. And so also Emmy out here saying, wow, first time seeing you guys live on Facebook. I'm used to see. Yeah. We were like, yeah, you know what? Let's go over to Facebook. Let's go live with it. Why not? So, yeah. And then also Ron's asking, will we be live when the season starts? I believe so. Some of it, like the summer hours, are always like kind of different because I know PayPal's got volleyball and everything. So, we got to do all those. But yeah, going back to the wide receivers. So with Chase Claypool, it's not like he was bad, right? There was a handful of drops that were made, and Chase Claypool had a couple. And there was a couple that he was just very up and down, where I would see him make a great route, and you're like, dang, he's good. And then he gets open, and then he double caught a ball. So it wasn't like Chase Claypool disappointed, but he wasn't like, oh my God. He just was very inconsistent, I would say, today, just from what I was seeing out there. But
yeah, and then Darnell Mooney, did he look pretty healthy? I guess, and even too, like, he also kind of, I think Velus Jones has been kind of a big person we've been hearing from the media, and
yeah,
like, he's someone that's like, I think he could possibly step up and find a role and like kind of eliminate, EQ and Dante Pettis, kind of these less exciting players.
Yeah, so here I'll also touch some random players where like some of the backups, your boy Simba Webster didn't really like pop at all. Reed, number 80, bobbled the kickoff, like just really didn't do too much. Fountain, another person that we've talked about, he looked a little quick, had a couple good reps, but had a couple drops out there too. But yeah, you asked about Velus. Velus was someone that I was also pleasantly surprised with, because that was another, like, there were so many surprises from the bad to the great. And Velus was another one. He had a lot of first team reps because Mooney is participating in 7-on-7s, but he's not participating in 11-on-11s with the full team. And also another note about Darnell Mooney, after practice, Darnell Mooney stayed and was trying to, you could see he was just after practice putting pressure on that foot that he had surgery on. It just feels like when I saw Mooney running, he wasn't hobbling, but it just seems like it's probably in his head, like, oh crap, I just had surgery on my foot and maybe it hurts, and he's just kind of playing it off. But Mooney looked solid. He looked like Mooney. But you just want him to be fully healthy. And that's where Velus came in and got a handful of starting reps and looked pretty good. And I think that was another super surprising piece, because normally we were used to him just being the gadget. And we said last year, he's going to be a gadget guy. He's going to be a gadget guy. This year, he was running routes, and they weren't half bad. In my notes, I have 2 short catches I remember him making. He even fought for a ball. Like, believe it or not, Velus Jones fought for a ball and caught it.
Wow.
And also ran deep and was able to catch one too. Actually, I think he ended up dropping it, but it was another beautifully thrown ball by Justin Fields. Guys, he's looking good. It's fun. It's so much fun to see him. But yeah, I think Velus though was a big surprise, because the big playability. He looked more like a receiver
Mm,
this year than he did before. So normally when someone's like, "Oh, Valus as a receiver," I would scoff. He
yeah,
actually looked like a receiver.
yeah, he's not just running deep routes and just flies, and he's actually running a slant, or he's actually, yeah, doing contested ball catches.
And
Um,
and sorry, Ron just brought up the last. Then I think we've probably talked about every single receiver, Tyler Scott. And this
yeah.
is where he wasn't surprising to me, but PayPal, Tyler Scott had at least 2 touchdowns from burning the defense and having significant amount of separation. The thing
Wow.
and when he was running like short routes, it wasn't like I was blown away by that quick stuff. That's where my impression of him today was this dude takes the top of off the defense where he has multiple steps on people, blowing by them, and he was another person fun to watch where you go, oh man, he's got this. He's
Yeah.
got this. So at a minimum, he's going to be a deep ball threat.
Yeah.
And yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah, because I wanted to get a little feel for honestly, the wide receiver were kind of the biggest question marks for me personally. I don't know about everyone else, as Bears fans, but it was like, who's gonna be kind of moving up in the ranks? Who's kind of doing well? Who, yeah, like,
yeah.
you're saying Velus Jones is kind of moving up. Crookshank might kind of rise up in the ranks, and we'll see kind of what comes next. But
I a
I
little bit on Crookshank. Sorry, real quick. I think that Crookshank, it'll be interesting to see if he ends up being like the practice squad guy,
yeah.
right? Because he's going to be like a training camp darling, I feel. And then before it's like he's not going to make the team, but seeing him, he's got this. He's got the speed to beat out like a Fountain, those other receivers.
Yeah, so you mentioned, a kind of a rookie. I I kind of see, how did Darnell Wright look as kind of the rookie
Oh,
right tackle of kind of protecting Justin Fields against, our defensive lineman? Did he look kind of like he was a rookie, or did he look like he's ready to become a pro?
so I'll be real here. I did not watch much of the offensive line because they were super far away, and they were also at the very, very far end. So it was really hard to see Darnell Wright in particular, where the right
Mm,
tackle was the most difficult tackle to watch. So I don't have too much on him.
okay.
Um, but I will say this, right? When talking about offensive line, there was a moment when I was looking at the line and the defensive line like did not move because I was watching Terrell Lewis versus Braxton Jones, and Braxton Jones just stonewalled him, did not move him anywhere. And then I looked, and Jenkins didn't moved his guy's not moving, and Whitehair's guy's not moving, and Davis's guy's not
Wow.
moving. I'm like, yes. But then I saw Darnell Wright like behind Justin Fields, so that was like, okay, what happened there at least. So I wasn't able to see too much of Darnell Wright just because of positions that I was in. But another little interesting nugget about the offensive line, because I know a lot of people ask about Leatherwood. So they're the second string offensive line was Dieter Iselin starting at the left tackle as the backup. Leatherwood was playing left guard. Patrick was center. Jatiri Carter was right guard, and then Borum was right tackle.
Mm,
And Leatherwood also stayed out there with Aviante Collins. He's an undrafted free agent, I believe, out of TCU, and very lightweight. But it looked like they were trying to give Leatherwood as many reps as they could because obviously, like we've talked about the contract situation with them. So that was at least something that was a little noteworthy, but I didn't really
okay.
notice too much with the offensive line. But there was a handful of plays like that where they wouldn't let people by, and then obviously then there were some times that people were going by them.
Nice. Yeah, it's always kind of hard to see. I remember the camp of, like, you can't
Yeah.
really see how well they're doing. It's almost like running too. Like, you can't really see how good a running back is unless you see like the alt 22, or if you just see them on TV of actually breaking tackles, or what they're actually kind of doing. Um I I mean, Brad, do we want to go through the person that it sounds like you just can't help but talk about him? The man behind everyone, Justin Fields. It sounds like he is everything we expected or we wanted this year.
Oh man, I feel like because here's the thing, right? I'm not here to say that the Bears are now Super Bowl bound or anything like that, but I will say Justin Fields, he looked good. He was hitting passes. There's still like a little slowness to some of his throws that he does make, but he was hitting them. And I think that's the biggest piece was just he looked more comfortable. I think it is because of having a DJ Moore. You having that release valve really seems to have changed his confidence, and just the way that the practice and the offense is ran. It was like last season you could tell he was getting used to the new playbook. This year he's like, I'm the captain now, right? Even though he was the captain last year, it's like, no, let's do this. And yeah, there was just beautiful passes. There was one where, so we know Tremaine Edmonds is huge. So Edmonds is right in the middle of 7-on-7. I think it was 7-on-7. And Fields just lobs a perfect pass right over his head to, I think it might have actually been DJ Moore, or maybe it was Cole. Just lobbed it perfectly over the linebacker and caught it. And the guy caught it. And it just was a perfect placement of that ball. And then there was the other one with Fountain where it was an out route and he kind of feathered it up. There was just so many spots where last year we were talking about how many throws did he make. Now it's how many catches did the receivers make, because he was putting the ball in good spots. And so it was a big difference than what I remember seeing last season. So I definitely think that it's that accuracy that we saw in college that I was able to see during practice and that a lot of people have talked about. It's a real thing. So it was so much fun to see that. But PayPal,
yeah,
the other quarterbacks, Walker, he bulleted a pass or so, but didn't see too much. But I'll talk about the person everyone probably wants me to, besides Fields, Tyson Bagent.
Yeah,
the guy out of Shepherd. If you ask me who is kind of the most disappointing, it might have been him, because he starts out and he's kind of like the quick passes. He's like hitting and he's throwing. And I'm like, dude, yes, we have something with Bagent. And then I see him on like the second team. Like it looked like, is he taking second team snaps? And then they had him throw it past 40 yards. And my God. Yes, I don't like saying like I could throw a ball better than that, but like a lot of people are going, I think I could throw a better ball than that. Because it was like it was not even close. They had like a net and it wasn't close. It was every ball he tried to bomb was just a lame duck. So yes, he has the athleticism. His short accuracy stuff looked pretty good. But yeah, I was disappointed with his lame ducks like deep. So that was something that kind of disappointed me, but still want to see what he's able to do, right? And maybe he got gun shy because he had to throw it next to people and he's kind of throwing it at the fans. Maybe it's something like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, going from a Division II football and then finally getting a spotlight kind of in the NFL, like it's probably pretty intimidating. Like, he's probably used to all these small guys in Division II, and then it's like how fast the game was probably so fast for him, and it probably just hit him like a truck.
Yeah, and also Peterman ran an option. Like there's nothing else that I really like talked about, but they ran a QB option and Peterman kept it and ran. I was like,
hey, Brad, I don't think you're supposed to be giving up that information. That's like top secret plays that we're going to be pulling out during the season.
They're like, Fields' legs are tired. Run the Peterman option. Give it to him. Let the man cook.
And with the Peterman option, there's no option. It's just he's going to run it no matter
Peterman
what.
is the option.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
But yeah, I guess we kind of touched on the receivers. Like, was Justin Fields kind of, was it only the wide receivers he was passing at? It was like Cole Kmet, was Robert Tonyan, like, or any of those, like Jake Tongas, or even did Khalil Herbert like look good, like kind of in the receiving end, or was it just kind of the receivers?
Good question. So from the tight end perspective, Cole Kmet, maybe it's the newfound money, but he looked good. Like he made some good catches out there. There was a handful that were like above him and he was able to come down with the ball. overall, it was, you saw the ball go to Komet and he would make a play on it. And
Mm.
it looked good. And that's what you expect out of someone that just signed a $12.5 million deal. Chase Allen, though, number 87, had a handful of bad plays sprinkled throughout there at the tight end position, mainly from a blocking perspective. But he's going to be fighting with Tonjes for kind of that third tight end spot. But running backs, I think first something that was interesting was Donta Foreman is more of the number 2 back than I thought, or like more of the like 1B, I would say, because there was, and maybe I'm
Okay.
giving away too much, there was formations with 2 running backs and then Herbert would go out wide or something like that, where it really did seem like Deonta Foreman and Herbert were like, Herbert's definitely 1, Foreman is 2, and then it seems like there's a gap. Just
Yeah.
from what I was seeing, is it didn't seem like Roschon is going to be taking somebody's job any day, anytime soon. Roschon also fumbled today. Roschon, though, also from just me watching him, I was expecting, it was the opposite. I expected more out of his pass catching, but every time he went out for a route, he seemed to be covered. But when he had the ball in his hands, you kind of saw the head on a swivel and he's like knifing through people. So the running was there, but the pass catching I didn't really see out of him. I mean, he did catch a ball that was, the linebacker was draped all over him, but don't let the linebacker be draped all over you, because Herbert and Foreman were doing a lot better from a pass catching perspective. And I think too, Herbert, he's just a smooth runner, smooth with the ball in his hands. He's really got to get that pass blocking down. I didn't see much of him in pass blocking, but I know last practice he basically let up a sack to Sewell. So you want to obviously see that get a little bit more cleaned up overall. But
Yeah.
I mean, Homer was Homer, and Ebner had a big play, but I ain't sold on him. He's still cement dude. Like after that, like you still saw him dancing in the backfield like he normally did. And how he got that big play was, it was a cutback. And that's what he did in college. So he still has that in his roots, in his core DNA, but I still, seeing how Foreman was used, seeing how smooth Travis Homer was, or just how like solid he was as a player, it really makes me go, yeah, Ebner does not have a spot on this team.
Yeah, not even close. And yeah, it's like you just want positive rushing yards from your running backs, and that's it. I guess I was gonna kind of transition into the defense, Brad. Is there like any kind of last guys that we just didn't
Oh
mention
man.
that you're kind of like they need to be honored and uh we didn't really touch on?
I I'm gonna go back and just say, like, guys, Fields and Fields and Moore are just, they're fun to watch. I can't wait. And I just hope, because I see all these people going down with injuries, just knock on wood. I just want people to be able to see it. I want to see what they're capable of, but I do think having that connection is huge. So we just have to make sure that Mooney is fully healthy and back and ready to go. But yeah, it's gonna be cool. So
Awesome.
yeah, let's do the
Awesome.
defense.
Yeah, you ready for the defense? I personally, I kind of have, I kind of like going kind of the biggest position groups that I personally, and maybe I'm just kind of greedy, maybe I'm just impatient, but how did this defensive line look without, that number one defensive end yet? Like, did we look like we were actually getting the quarterback? Was it our offensive line that looked just so good, or was it our defensive line just looking terrible?
So this is my take on our defensive line. I like our D tackles. Like,
Okay.
I like our D tackles. I think that we're kind of set there. Then there was a handful of times where Demarcus Walker, it was like Walker, Green, um, and another defensive end. Let me see who it
Gibson,
was.
hopefully.
Lewis actually.
Oh,
They all went out there. So then I believe it was Walker that then lined up at D tackle. So we have a lot of flexibility at D tackle. I feel comfortable there. Defensive end, I just don't think that we have the guy. And I think Walker, we've talked about this before. Walker looked solid. Walker actually was able to get in the backfield And like I mentioned before, he should have actually had a sack on Justin Fields. But Rasheem Green isn't turning a lot of heads. I know Terrell Lewis is kind of someone that a lot of people are pointing at and saying, this guy's good. I just don't fully buy it. Like, I don't like the idea of going into the season and say, don't worry, Terrell Lewis is going to save us. And Travis Gibson, looking at his stance, he didn't pop for me, which I hate saying. And I think at the defensive end spot, we got it. There's a reason why we're looking at Justin Houston, and another rumor is that we're looking at Yannick Ngakoue. And I just don't. The biggest thing is I just don't want to settle for mediocre. I think that's the biggest piece because Terrell Lewis could be solid. I just don't want to have solid. I want good. I want better, and that's overall. I just didn't really love anything that I really saw, or the defensive ends could have been better.
Well, yeah, it's like, I mean, we talked about the offense, and it was like, oh, look at all these new guys we got, all these new toys, DJ Moore, like, you're so hyped about Tyler Scott, and like, oh my gosh, like,
yeah,
they looked amazing, like, they had all this excitement plays. I mean, was there at least, did, like, Gervon Dexter, did Zach Pickens, did the defensive tackles at least kind of perform plays that you're kind of like, wow, like, at least they could get pressure from up the middle?
Yeah, so Ron's asking about Billings. Billings, first off, that dude is wide.
Yeah,
Billings is like, he's 6 feet tall and probably about 5 feet wide. And exactly that profile is exactly what we need at this defensive tackle spot, where he's just going to eat people. And that's what Billings going to do. And he's not super fast, but I think if we're talking about the rookies, Gervon, Pickens, we kind of talk about that, like who's going to be better, who looks better. I have been, like, when the Bears drafted him, I had Pickens higher than Gervon. I understand why people that have seen Gervon Dexter now like Gervon Dexter over a Pickens. Now, Pickens, it wasn't that he was bad. Pickens was totally fine. It was just Gervon Dexter is big. Gervon Dexter is like 6'5". He's a big man, and you can kind of see the power. Now, there's a handful of times, right? We talked about the get-off. A handful of times, he was a little slow with some get-offs, but then another handful of times, it was like a 50-50. 50% of the time, I was like, it looked like he kind of like, what did I use this? I put down a great word for it, but I can't find it. But, oh yeah, lumbering. He takes like a lumbering step into it. But then the other times when he gets that step, you're like, good night. Like, there's no way. Because there was one time, it was 11 on 11s, and yeah, he got a step. He had a great first step and just goes right by Tevin Jenkins. That's what you want to see. So he's got the size. He's got, and seems to have that better first step. It's not the comically bad 1 second and then he's off the snap. He's definitely got to get into his own, use his hands a little bit better. But and that's just an overall thing, not something that I saw today. But I just thought that you looked at the defensive tackles and they look solid. And also Justin Jones. I was pleasantly surprised. You saw Justin Jones out there. He was quick. He looked very quick as a D tackle. Like, he looked faster than most of our defensive ends that we have out there at D. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. And next to the 5 foot wide Andrew Billings, I kind of like that combo. And with Gervon, the defensive tackles, I came away going, okay, like, I feel we're not going to be the best in the league at D tackle, but you look at it, you go, these guys look good. These guys look solid.
Yeah. Anything on Travis Bell? I guess that was kind of the last person on the defensive line. I was like, kind of, does he also look like he, was 6'6", and then they just squashed him? So then he was like 6 foot and 5 feet wide.
He did. But rather than Billings, who went out, he went more towards the front. And he just looks like a mobile bowling ball. And Bell, you see the athleticism when he was running straight lines and he's running some of the sprints. You see his effort that he puts forth. The thing that he kind of reminded me of Carson Taylor last year, for those that remember him, where he was the undrafted guy out of Northern Arizona and just was constant high motor, constantly trying. And I'm curious to see how Bell does in the first preseason game, because you see the speed, you see the quickness, you see all this stuff, but it's very like when you watch the combine, there's those people that try super, super, super hard and then it doesn't translate. I want to see what Bell is able to do because he's got the athleticism, and it's so weird to say, like, I don't know how many people get it where it's like the high effort. He's almost like overexerting himself where someone could just be like, yoink, use your momentum against you type of piece.
I see.
So that's something that I'm just kind of curious to see how he looks, but it was he was pleasantly fast. I didn't expect him to be that fast, that quick, but he was. So just some other people too that I have on just the defensive line too. D'Anthony Jones out of Houston. He was that kind of tweener, the 6 foot, like 260, 270.
Yeah.
He was interesting. He surprised me a couple times where I remember looking at him going, oh, he's 63. He's probably not that important. And then I was like, oh, who was that again? I go, oh, 63. Probably not important. Then I saw him again. I'm like, okay, he's turning my head a handful of times and he's looking pretty decent. But yeah, I think, and Andrew Brown too. He's kind of the veteran, 92. Looked pretty good. Also, just want to throw this out there. Bell, I don't know if this was just the way that practice was set up. It seemed like there was defensive tackles and then defensive ends, and Bell was over there with the defensive ends while they were doing some of their drills. I think it's probably just a numbers game, but it was something that I just want to at least call attention to, where I know on some previous shows, I think it was Renewable that mentioned, what about him as a defensive end? And that was one of the things that I just jotted down, like, that's
interesting.
Different. Yeah, that's interesting.
Different. Yeah, like he probably stood out so much for those out of all the other defensive ends. And Brad, I mean, we kind of always joked about it, but heck, like it just sounds like more and more we should just go for a 3-4 defense instead of 4-3, because it's like we got the defensive tackles.
Yeah, we
just don't have the defensive ends to actually rush. But yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, if we had the linebackers, Brad, it sounds like. I mean, how did just that core look when they're playing together? I mean, how did Jack Sanborn, I mean, he's in a different position, so to speak. Like he's not in the middle of the linebacking crew. He's going to be more that Sam linebacker. How did that group look like?
So I'm wearing my Sanborn jersey. I was the only one in the Sanborn jersey. So if anyone saw a Sanborn jersey,
the first Sanborn jersey out there,
it was me.
You know?
Yeah. It's me. I probably am the only one that has it. And but yeah, Sanborn, it's not just this jersey. There was the people around us when we were watching it, they're going, geez, Sanborn looks smooth. They were doing just some simple drills. I didn't see him out there on 11 on 11. He's still nursing back from an injury. So Sewell was actually the starting Sam linebacker in the 11 on 11s like he was yesterday as well. And Sanborn just, he looked the smoothest in receiving drills. When they had to basically, you had to cut back, you had to run through, and then you had to catch the ball. He had good hands. He looked smooth when he was running. And he looked like the clear third best linebacker on the team. I think that was something that really stuck out to me. Was I was looking at Sewell, and it's not like Sewell looked bad. It's more credit to how Sanborn looked, how fluid he looked with moving. And I just really think it's just going to be the linebackers. I don't think it's going to be a competition, because you see that, and Sanborn's just a lot smoother overall. You see with his back pedal, you see with his coverage skills. Definitely Sanborn impressed me. Also, Sanborn locked down Darnell Mooney on 7-on-7s in a short. It was a short zone, and Sanborn just basically was all over him, and it was thoroughly impressive. But Sewell, I don't want to say he disappointed me because that means that he was bad. He just looked like a linebacker out there.
Ah,
He just wasn't like, I was expecting this big pop, this big burst, this big acceleration. And I just didn't really see that out of him. I didn't see this gigantic burst, but he was solid, right? He was okay out there. Edmonds dropped a couple balls, but he's 6'5" and just an absolute behemoth. But I will say a couple other people. Dang, super, super skinny.
okay.
Saw that when you compare everybody. He's very far back up. Dylan Cole surprised me. Number 55 linebacker. He's the person that we signed from the Titans. Sneaky speed, very fast out there.
Huh.
Did not expect that at all out of this guy because I was like, oh, special teamer. He's probably pretty slow. He looked pretty decent I was just kind of impressed by his speed. And last but not least, Edwards.
Oh,
Sorry, Edwards. Edwards just was always making plays. Every time that something happened, I was like, oh, 53, 53 again. He just was always around the ball. And it just thoroughly impressive. But yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't see much out of DeMarquise Gates.
man. I was hoping DeMarquise Gates was gonna get brought up. Like, man, Dylan Cole looked good, but man, DeMarquise Gates though, But hey,
Yeah,
that's good to know. It's good to know that Dylan Cole is a solid option because it just the backups are always so nice to hear, especially with this middle linebacking or this linebacking crew, because it's like we know those starting three are going to be good. It's just kind of who can take their
yeah.
place, at this point.
Yeah, and another person too, because I know the linebacker out of Arizona has been brought up, and I didn't really see much out of him today. Yet again, not saying he's bad, but just didn't really see anything. And I know that we have some fans of him that listen
Yeah,
to the show.
uh, is that Micah Baskerville, just Buddy Johnson, those
Oh, it
guys?
wasn't
I
Buddy
don't.
Johnson. It wasn't Baskerville either. I'll look
Okay,
him up. I'll look him up.
yeah,
He was number 59.
okay, yeah, and it's good thing we went from a negative of our defense to straight to the positive, but I guess someone I saw a lot of, surprisingly, I guess good and bad, was Tyreek Stevenson. Kind of with that cornerback crew, it sounded like Kyler Gordon was like right out the gate. You said he was kind of just shocking.
Yeah.
How do those guys look? Did Jalen Johnson look like just kind of the pro out there? And then did these guys did the cornerbacks look good?
Yeah, so going with the starters, a little bit more on Kyler. Yeah, I broke up a ball, like I mentioned, to Fountain on the outside and then made another good play deep. Another thing, too, was that they had a screenplay. Kyler completely sniffed it out and blew up the play. So Kyler made plays, and that's what we want to see out of him. So
Mm-hmm.
making at least 3 plays today was great. And Jalen Johnson, he definitely was like you said, a pro. It wasn't like he blew me away. It wasn't like he was locking people down, but he just looked solid. He just looked like Jalen Johnson out there. There was a handful of times though that he was kind of practicing by himself, which I thought was weird.
Huh.
I just thought I'd at least call that out. And Stevenson, he's not bad, but he is on the butt of every big play. and
Mm.
and I think part of it is the way that he gets faked out too. It's not like Vildor when he was getting faked out, or some of the other bad corners that we've had where you're like, God, what are you doing, kid? It seemed like Stevenson was more of like he could cover him, but just DJ Moore was better. But everybody did seem to have their way with Stevenson, which is at
Mm.
least just something to watch out for because he's made
Yeah.
plays on yesterday. He made some plays, but today he was usually on the end of a lot of big plays, which you don't love to
Yeah.
see. I mean, actually, you love to see. Let's be real here. We'd rather see the offense than that, but that is something definitely in preseason. I want to be able to just like watch how is he covering people, and yeah, DJ Moore's going to help him out because you're covering one of the best receivers in the game.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
I mean, that's kind of what we want from Tyreek Stevenson, right? Like, I think they're trying to do the Kyler Gordon like we did last year of, have him basically play back, learn on the field as quick as he can. So then when he's ready for in season.
Yeah. And also too, I do think that he's going to be the starter. When you see him out there compared to Vildor or even like Terrell Smith. Terrell Smith did not look bad. I liked seeing some of his burst, but seeing him playing, it wasn't like, oh, dude, this guy, sign him up. He's gonna be like, he was solid. He was just a solid player out there. But the last guy that I'll kind of bring up though, that really did impress me was Elijah Hicks. Made a surprising amount of plays. It was like a kind of a jump ball, I believe, for Chase Allen, and he was able to jump up and swat it down. There's another handful of plays where Elijah Hicks, because we were talking about the safety depth and how that was a big fear, and we are saying, well, maybe the Bears aren't bringing back DHC because of Elijah Hicks. And seeing Elijah Hicks today, it put me a little bit more at ease. I still want to see preseason, but it was nice to see, like, okay, dude can make plays, dude can ball. It was nice to see out of your 7th round rookie. Well, last year wasn't terrible, but made plays today.
Gotcha. Hey, I love to hear that because, we definitely need a safety to take that backup spot. And like anything, I guess from the other rookies Terrell Smith was kind of someone that was not out. We haven't been able to see probably till now. And then Kendall Williamson, did he look like he's a 7th rounder? Did he look like did he actually kind of like look decent out there?
That was someone I didn't see too much of. The safeties I didn't see a bunch. I saw Brisker a decent amount. Brisker was up and down. He didn't make some of the Brisker plays that he did last season or last training camp, but there was a couple where I think it was a deep pass to Cole Kmet, and Brisker kind of was all over Kmet and was able to break that up. So,
nice.
But yeah, didn't see Kendall Williamson too much. So don't have much on him, unfortunately.
Gotcha.
Now I'm kicking myself for that.
Yeah, well, I guess that's all right. So I guess kind of we don't really need to talk about special teams unless there's like a big special teams guy that you're completely shocked about, like Patrick Scales came out looking jacked or something.
Yeah, Patrick Scales. Actually, funny you say that. Trenton Gill made a pretty good catch, and people because where you're sitting, they had the special teams, because I think they did this last time you and I went, where the special teams were like right in front of you and they're not even like kicking, and then the 11-on-11 is going on the far field.
Yeah.
And so you just have the special teamers and someone, I think it was the backup long snapper or something. It was like 37, just throws a pass and Gill makes a good catch, and people were like, "Oh, the punter."
Okay.
It's like, yeah, that was about it. But
that's funny.
But yeah,
I guess now we're looking kind of, I guess overall it seems like offense was like 2 thumbs up, and then defense was kind of up and down of like they looked good at parts, and then sometimes it just looked like our offense just dominated them.
I think definitely it's not necessarily like the offense dominated, because it's hard, because defense is such a team thing, right? And it's easy to see who does well with the offensive side of the ball. But I think, to the point, offense was looking good. And I think that's a big piece, is offense is looking good. If I were to sum it up, Justin Fields, DJ Moore, beast. So much fun to watch them. Can't wait, as I've said that for the 20th time so far. Also, I want to see the offensive line, want to see pads on, want to see it, mainly just preseason, right? I just want to see the preseason pieces, but the receivers, the depth out there, not saying that they're going to be unbelievable, but it looks like the depth can at least do something. Mm-hmm. And EQ, didn't even bring up EQ. EQ just is EQ. So
Yeah.
he's makes a couple plays and you go, oh, nice. Like, yeah, the ball went to him. He caught it. Things were good. And but the defensive side of the ball, I think the way to sum it up is want to see Tyreek Stevenson more. Kyler Gordon, keep it up. D tackles looking solid. D ends, sign somebody because, like, I really just don't love the idea. I don't think any, like, if for the people that love Terrell Lewis, do you really feel confident about that? And that's where, to me, I just don't feel confident in a Terrell Lewis. And I know some people say that they really liked him out there, but I just don't. I just sign somebody. Just sign somebody, and then you'll see how everybody else does. You can't have enough pass rushers.
Yeah,
right?
I was really hoping that Travis Gibson. I was hoping you'd come in here and be like, "Hey, Travis Gibson, Robinson, like, played well. Like, there's a reason why we've been waiting this long to sign defensive end, and we haven't had an urgency on it." But
Actually, a little bit on Dominic Robinson. I said this last year as well. I was surprised at how it's not like he's not athletic, but like for someone that is tooled as this athletic person, you would expect like a lot more quickness out of him, a lot more speed. And it wasn't like he was blowing me away with any of that. And yeah, now we're ending on a sour note. Now we're ending on that. But no, it's been so much fun to just go out there and see it. But we're going to keep this coverage up. So now we're going to be doing some just shorter form content about training camp to just make sure that you are up to speed with what is going on. But make sure to make sure to subscribe, and PayPal, great job hosting this show. This is your first time ever hosting, and thank you for drilling me with questions. But ladies and gents, it's a great, exciting time to be a Bears fan. And with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice